Alex has mulligan to 6. An Hour of Devastation update for the Zombies deck, going back over to black-white so that he could add Mummy Paramount to the deck. And we are underway. Ben Weinberg on the play. 2 copies of Dusk Dawn are in the main of Ben Weinberg's deck, and it's going to be very interesting to see how that card plays out in this matchup. On its surface, it doesn't hit anything in Alex's deck.
It really punishes Liliana's Mastery, and it can really punish Lord of the Accursed.
All right, Ben going to cast a Hanvir Militia Captain. Will we see the Paramount here from Alex? That is it. And there we are going to see, all right, so our first, that Mummy Paramount. 2/2, when another zombie enters the battlefield, it will get +1/+1, as long as it's under Alex's control.
Almost looks like we're looking at a draft game so far. 2 2/2s for white 1.
If it's a draft game, Ben's got the better card.
Right, he's got the rare.
Yeah. It'll be Oketra's Monument here from Weinberg. So you oftentimes see this early with the white-blue decks. They'll take a turn off to make the Monument, and then that'll really pay off down the road.
Makes it relatively easy to 2-spell on the following turn, and just makes your creature spells more impactful. Staples a 1/1 Vigilant token onto them.
Will also help flip that Militia Captain. We'll see how Alex responds.
I expect the plan involves making some zombies.
Yeah, here is Diregraph Colossus, a swing for 3 from the Paramount. And actually, Colossus plus Paramount is a lot of damage. So now every time Alex casts a zombie, he'll get another zombie. It'll trigger Paramount twice. This is going to add up.
Yeah, this is a really powerful interaction.
Westvale Abbey from Weinberg. He's got 3 Spell Quellers and a Cloud Blazer.
Yeah, technically, you know, because the colorless land there for the turn being Westvale Abbey, can't leave up 2 Spell Quellers on this turn. So if he leaves up Queller, he'd be leaving mana on the table.
Ben offers a trade. Alex declines. Goes to 16. Ben follows up with Cloud Blazer, and Oketra's Monument will make a 1/1. So much value there. 4 mana for a 2/2 flying, gain 2, draw 2, make a 1/1.
And if the coast is clear for a turn 3 Monument, if you're not under too much pressure, this is really the dream setup. You set up Monument, cast Cloud Blazer on 4, got a nice little board going, got a couple extra cards in your hand. He's flush with Spell Quellers, so he'll be able to shut off a lot of what Alexander is able to do on the following turns.
Here's Lord of the Accursed from Alex, and his deck is also scaling very nicely here. So you see this Lord going to trigger, make a zombie off Colossus. Then it comes into play, triggers Paramount twice, pumps Paramount. It's all the way up to a 5/5.
And Weinberg would care about that if this wasn't a Monument game.
Yeah, now this is interesting. Alex actually is going to swing the Colossus. He's offering to trade away his Colossus with both of Ben's creatures. And Ben's going to decline. I was a little surprised to see that trade offered, though I guess if Ben's going to decline it, it's the right move.
Yeah, Ben just trying to keep his board presence here. If he ever produces a copy of Dusk Dawn, that does a lot of damage to Alexander.
Bygone Bishop, the pickup for Weinberg. Maybe Metallic Rebuke as well in his hand.
Yeah, with another Plains entering the battlefield here, he has access to 2 Spell Quellers on the following turn. Notably, Alexander, no 4th land drop. We won't be seeing a Liliana's Mastery anytime soon.
So Bygone Bishop from Weinberg. Now this is really nice. He actually does have double counterspell up because of that Bygone Bishop.
Yeah, so he gets to do some He has the Oketra's Monument, makes a clue token when he casts a creature. So you cast your Spell Queller, you investigate. Then suddenly your Metallic Rebuke can tap Clue and Oketra's Monument, costs 1 mana.
Yeah, and with Alex on 3 lands, that should be good enough to counter any play he makes. It's going to start, looks like, on Fatal Push. That's going to hit the Hanver Militia Captain. Now Militia Captain would flip next upkeep, so Alex is going to try to take care of it before that happens. Here's Spell Queller from Weinberg. Only 2 mana for Spell Queller, and it nets him a 1/1. And it nets him a Clue token. He's kind of... Both decks are really scaling here as when it comes to just interactions.
And there are 2 copies of Grasp of Darkness in Khan's deck. However, he had Plains plus a black-white duel. Couldn't have cast that in response to the Queller.
Another Fatal Push, and Ben's just going to let...
This is a Dark Salvation.
Oh, Dark Salvation.
Makes no zombies, but has enough to take down the Spell Queller.
Gets back the Fatal Push, which hits the Militia Captain. So Ben maybe doesn't have the Metallic Rebuke. I would think that would have been a spot where he'd have pulled the trigger on it.
Yeah, I wouldn't want just 2 of my creatures to die.
A blue card, though, in Weinberg's hand might be the counterspell. Now a big swing from Alex. I believe there are other blue cards in Ben's deck, so I think it is. Yeah, there is Metallic Rebuke there, so he's still holding on to it. Now he has another Spell Queller. You see it can be a big set of blocks here from Ben, hoping just to trade the board away. Yeah, Queller, Rebuke still in Ben's hand.
The Queller will do a good job of keeping Khan from developing his battlefield on the following turns. Losing the Bygone Bishop does take some of the steam out of Ben Weinberg's engine. Still gets to make 1/1s when he casts creature spells, but a little lighter on what he's doing.
Makes land stakes here. So now that Westvale Abbey is online for Ben Weinberg, he'll just say go.
At the gathering point on green paper, please make your way to your seats. Again, 3 p.m. Stone Spectacular. Your seats.
Grasp of Darkness is in Alex Khan's hand, but still on 3 lands right now.
Just facing down the 1/1 token. His aggressive start has done a great job of managing what Weinberg's been able to produce.
Swings both. Ben will ambush in a Spell Queller. Alex going to try to Grasp of Darkness away the Queller. Ben has another one. Another creature and another 2/3. And Alex says, yeah, you can block now.
And you're really seeing the power of Oketra's Monument here. 4 creatures enter the battlefield out of nowhere. Ben's able to throw a bunch of stuff in combat and still comes ahead with more power than when he entered combat.
Then it looks like he wants to double block the Lord of the Accursed. And he's putting the Spell Queller in front of the other one. So he's going to lose his token and a Queller, and Alex will lose the whole board.
A little curious that Ben put the Queller in front of the zombie instead of the 2 tokens there.
Yeah, well, I think he's trying to represent an Ormondal flip, so he actually just wants a larger number of creatures.
Sure, volume of creatures does help him there.
A swing here from Ben. For 4, both those soul warriors with vigilance. And another Bygone Bishop for Weinberg, another warrior.
When you're this far ahead on board, just maintaining the flyer is pretty reasonable. Kind of a limitless stream of chump blockers coming down the pipeline for Weinberg as well. Though Ormondal not particularly beatable. There could be some nightmare scenario, though. Say Khan was main decking Anguished on making.
Yeah, that's what you have to watch out. The mono black build really, its only way to answer Ormondal is Dark Salvation, a really big Dark Salvation. For the black-white build, you'd have to worry about cards like Anguished on Making, Declaration in Stone. Ormondal a lot less safe there.
Right.
You see Ben continuing with some card advantage here. Cast out Selfless Spirit, Metallic Rebuke still left in hand. That should be enough to push him into the second game. This is going to be a swing for 7 from Weinberg. Shambling Vent from Alex. Puts it in front of a creature. That's fine for Ben. He'll make Selfless Spirit post-combat. Overpays for it. I believe that's still allowed.
Yeah, there's no mana burn, nothing to punish you for that. You can tap lands for no reason. That is a legal play. It's a weird one.
I mean, he missed it, but it doesn't matter here. We're going to a second game. Ben Weinberg is going to get it with Blue-White Monument.
Yeah, you really just you see a very pronounced difference between the games where this deck has turn 3 Monument and games where it doesn't. Weinberg made something to the order of 6 tokens off of that, made combat very easy.
Well, yeah, Monument is so good in the deck, and that's why you see them play 4 copies of a legendary permanent. I mean, there's a lot of downside. You know, there's the next one you play doesn't do anything, but it's good enough that they really have to have it.
Right.
All right, we're going to the sideboards. I want to start with Alex Kahn on Black-White Zombies. Some new cards here. 4 copies of the card Doomfall. 3 Dusk Dawns of his own. 2 Fatal Push, 2 Anguished Unmaking, 2 Kalitas, 1 Obnixilis, and 1 Gonti are registered for him.
It's the card I would definitely be reaching for. Those 2 copies of Anguished Unmaking. They're an answer to Monument. They can clean up any of those creatures. They can exile an Ormondal. Those ones seem quite good. Fatal Push is pretty reasonable. You tag some creature. If you trigger Revolt, you can take care of Spell Queller. This is really not a Doomfall matchup.
Yeah, Doomfall is the card, 3-mana sorcery. They either sacrifice a creature, their opponent chooses a creature to exile, or you look at their hand and you exile a card out of it. The first half of that is really no good here. There's too many 1/1s floating around.
Right.
Second half is fine.
It's a little slow. 3-mana discard spells, not really the sweet spot.
Yeah, but Kalitas very strong in this matchup.
Once you can stick it, it can really do some work. It plays right into Spell Queller, which is not really where you want to be, but 3/4 lifelinking body, that is pretty nice.
All right, on the other side for Ben Weinberg, 4 copies of Negate, 2 Angel of Sanctions, 2 Fumigate, a Fragmentize, an Aven Mind Sensor, a Essence Scatter, a Summary Dismissal, a Declaration in Stone, and then 2 copies of the new rare. This is kind of the people have compared it to Vendilion Click, maybe a little too generous, but Nimble Obstructionist.
Yeah, that was an interesting card. Blue and 2 for 3/1 flyer with flash. You can also cycle it for the same cost to counter an activated or triggered ability. Not the cycling, can't target your own, but you can hit some things with that. I don't think this is necessarily the matchup. It flies, which is neat. Angel of Sanctions and Fumigate both seem reasonable. Fumigate certainly better, destroying all the creatures. That is really nice.
I like that against zombies.
Yeah, and Declaration in Stone is going to be good against a lot of the zombie draws, especially if they get a lot of zombie tokens on the battlefield.
Yeah, so Nimble Obstructionist, just want to mention that for a second. What kind of matchup do you want that card for? I understand how in older formats, modern maybe, you can just kind of play it. There's a lot of fetch lands. There's a lot of things you can do. And in standard, I almost feel like we need a reason for that kind of effect.
So some things that it counters Ulamog's cast trigger. That can be very significant.
Yeah, that's great.
It counters Planeswalker activations, or more notably, in a lot of those situations, you just cast it as a 3/1 flyer and you can pressure Planeswalkers. But you have a couple ways to play it, which is pretty nice. And sometimes against those control decks, if they're playing Evolving Wilds, stifling their land can be significant.
I guess you could stifle a. What I do like is that the cycling ability on Nimble Obstructionist counters. That's not you can't counter that. So say a Torrential Gearhulk, they cast one, you can cycle to counter that trigger, and even if your opponent has counter spells in hand, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, you can't interact with the trigger there. You can disallow
I guess if they're disallowed, then they can. But
yeah, a 3/1 flyer with flash is pretty good against control decks anyway.
Players gonna dealing out second hands. StarCityGames.com. You can watch Star City in style with the StarCityGames.com t-shirts. That's the official shirt of the SCG Tour and of StarCityGames.com. They are half cotton, half polyester, made in the United States. You can get them at StarCityGames.com/apparel.
I thought you were setting up a 50% cotton, 50% polyester, 100% quality, but
that just doesn't even need to be said.
It is implied. It is an implicit quality product.
All right, so game number 2. We're going to have Alex Kahn on the play. He's keeping Ben going to 6 here.
Mulligan not terribly punishing, though there are some draws that can line up that are pretty awkward, say multiple monuments. But stuff like Spell Queller and Bygone Bishop can make up cards.
The white-blue deck, because its curve starts kind of at 3, does need its 4th land to play games. And mulliganing puts that in, you're in danger of missing that. But outside of that, I agree.
Yeah.
Alex starting off on Crypt Breaker. No time to make zombies because he's got to turn to Mummy Paramount. And I like that with Crypt Breaker. That's nice.
Yeah, you know, given that you already get a 2/2 anyway with some upside, it doesn't make sense to discard a card over going for this play.
Now I got some instant speed pump.
Yeah. Now we're cooking.
Who knows when the next zombie's going to come. Copy of Cast Out in Ben's hand. He's choosing... Oh, we'll see if he chooses to cycle it or hang on to it. One of the Ifnir Deadlands from Alex. Ben's going to read. All of these, that's the ability to sacrifice a desert to gain some value. In the black one, puts 2 -1/-1 counters on target creature you do not control, but only at sorcery speed. And for Alex, a second Mummy Paramount. Could have drawn a card, but he's doing damage. Sends 4 across at Ben.
Yeah, he's in a position where he can really leverage a lot of damage, and the Paramounts, they allow him to really put up a lot of pressure. He can cast more zombies from his hand or activate Crypt Breaker, and he doesn't run the risk of being blown out by Dusk Dawn.
Yeah. Declaration in Stone from Weinberg is going to hit both of them, however.
So he does run the risk of getting hit by that one of in Weinberg's sideboard.
2 clues for his trouble.
Clue is a little bit slower to draw cards than a team of zombies.
Yeah. It's still a great play for Ben.
Yeah.
Looks like Alex's hand a little unwieldy. He picks up a second copy of Anguished on making that turn.
He'd like to have a 4th land, that's for sure.
Lord of the Accursed, he'll hit for 2 and miss the land drop. Ben's down to 13. And he'll make Hanvir Militia Captain, leaving up 2 mana. Essence Scatter looks like it's in his hand. That one's come out of the sideboard. It's a 1-of. Alex hits the 4th land here.
Enables Crack, Clue, plus Crypt Breaker activation.
Dark Salvation, that's not one you can Essence Scatter, so Militia Captain down. Here's a zombie. See if Alex, probably still dealing damage.
Yeah. And particularly on the draw, this is not a great matchup for Essence Scatter. All of these creatures are pretty replaceable. You'll generally trade on equal mana, maybe trading up 1 mana.
Well, it's interesting. This Essence Scatter is actually out of Ben's sideboard, so he believes it to be correct for the matchup. But certainly this game, it's not doing much for him.
Yeah, and really the most powerful singular cards, well, there's the 1-mana creature Crypt Breaker. You won't be able to Essence Scatter that one on turn 1. Things like Dark Salvation, things like Liliana's Mastery, those are non-creature spells.
Now, Lord of the Accursed would have been a good hit if he'd had it at that point.
Yes.
Here's Thraben Inspector from Weinberg showing an island to Port Town. But Ben's down to 9 as we go back over to Alex. Just a 1/2 blocker right now for Weinberg. It's not big enough to profitably block anything. Thanks that Lord of the Accursed, all of Alex's creatures at least 2/2. And he'll swing them all.
Yeah, no real concern here. A Spell Queller could enter combat here, but that's not happening.
No, Weinberg takes 4, blocks the 3/3. Shambling Vent from Khan and no other plays. Ben's going to go searching with his Clue token.
Ugh.
2 more lands? Yeah, 3 more lands. And a counter spell. Make it 4, actually. Westvale Abbey's the play. Looks like his hand is just land and...
It would have been a sweet spot for Fumigate.
Yeah, and has that Essence Scatter.
Yeah.
That's not going to do it. Ben at 5. A turn of the cards from Alex should force a 3rd game here. Multiple picked up Wayward Servant. Not going to need that. 7 power and play more than enough.
Yep.
And we're heading Ooh, Ben does have a play.
Kind of. He activated Westphal Abbey and still took lethal from the other creatures.
Oh, okay. All right, we're going to a third game then. Wait, what activates? Do you have enough mana?
Yeah, it looked like he
Oh,
had
yeah.
6.
All right.
He thought that perhaps Alexander Khan had some kind of phobia of
Oh, yeah, he-
cultists
Yeah.
and might concede in response to the activation.
He missed. They takes 1 off the trigger. I don't know. So 1-1 between White Blue Monument and Black White Zombie. See a couple other matches going on. Over on our backup here, we have Todd Stevens, currently 4-0.
Hopefully casting some Nicol Bolas. Trying, he's trying.
So it'll happen eventually. That's our hope.
In the sideboard games, I think Essence Scatter does gain a lot more value when you're on the play.
Sure, there's a lot more time to do it. Now, the things you are hoping to hit, I mean, the only creature spells that cost 3 or more are the Diagraph Colossus and Lord of the Accursed. But they're pretty good hits if he can get to them.
Keeping pace with Mummy Paramount or Wayward Servant on turn 2 is actually pretty significant. You know, on the draw, I think it's just so much worse, but on the play, it is pretty nice, even just taking a 2-drop. They're still not great in the matchup, you know, to be entirely honest. But on the play, you can leverage a lot better.
Yeah, do the Dusk Dawns come out from Ben here, or do we still like them in the matchup? Well, that's one of the things I'm interested in.
I think you'll see enough games where they end up being significant. They wouldn't have mattered in that game. And it kind of depends how heads up you think your opponent is. Do you think that they're going to cast Liliana's Mastery? Because if they're just not going to do that, then you have a pretty blank card.
Yeah, there's pressure. You thought Alex kind of respecting Dusk Dawn?
Hmm.
But he'd respect it whether or not you actually have it in your deck.
Right. Yeah, I think you play the player more than you play draw with that card.
Sure, that makes sense. Also starts the games, we have the Tarmo die. Keep track of the size of your favorite modern creature in style. Going all the way up to an 8-9 here. We have the Tarmo die. You can get 1, or you can get a set of 4 for all your Tarmogoyfs, because you can have them all in play. StarCGames.com/Tarmo die. They are available now.
1 for you, 1 for 3 of your best friends, or your jundiest friends.
Put 1 on each of your Goyfs. Both players on 7 here for our third game. Thraven Inspector starts from Ben Weinberg. It's going to be Dread Wanderer from Alex Kahn. Second white mana swing from Ben and a Selfless Spirit. He's got that Essence Scatter in hand. I don't know that he has the blue mana yet.
Yeah, he has a Prairie Stream. He's waiting until turn 3 when he has the 2 planes to play that one.
Okay.
And also, a 3-drop is really what you want to tag anyway. He's hoping to hit Lord of the Accursed.
Now, a neat attack here from Weinberg. By swinging Inspector, he knew he'd be taking 2 on this swing back and was okay with that. And if he'd left it back as a blocker, Alex probably wouldn't have attacked. The third game in a row, though, Alex will add a Mummy Paramount. Yeah, here's the Prairie Stream, a swing for 2 in the air. And it looked like a Militia Captain from Weinberg.
And he tapped low on what is the best possible turn for Essence Scatter.
Well,
So,
yeah, the other option looks pretty bad. You're right, though.
He gets to leave up Clue Token if he sits on Essence Scatter, but he would really like to tag a Lord of the Accursed. If one of those comes down here for Khan, that's going to be pretty bad news for Weinberg.
Looks like Dark Salvation possibility here for Alex. Targets the Militia Captain. So he'll make a zombie, kill the Militia Captain. This is pretty nice. Zombie coming into play will pump the Paramount.
Couldn't Essence Scatter that one anyway. So that worked out.
See whether Alex will offer a trade of Dread Wanderer for the Inspector.
He's still got a good amount of cards in hand, but I
Yeah.
think that it's fine to attack here.
Yeah, and you see him, he pulled back to think about it, and then same conclusion you just came to, said, yeah, why not? And they trade. Ben down to 15. Picks up Cloud Blazer. The big difference to me, though, in the games we're seeing here in Game 1 is Oketra's Monument.
Yes, game 1, that card did so much work for Weinberg. Haven't really seen that in the sideboard games here.
Yeah, and it hurts. You see, right now, Clue Token finds another Cloud Blazer. It's cards like Cloud Blazer, if you're paying full value for it, it's really not. It's not very efficient for Standard.
Just one more way that this matchup looks reminiscent of a draft game.
Yeah.
and Weinberg aggressively cracked that clue. He really wanted to find a land and really punished here. He didn't
Yeah.
find the land, took himself off Essence Scatter, and here's Diagraph Colossus.
And that was one of the two creatures we said it was important for Ben to be able to Essence Scatter. So Ben trades away Selfless Spirit. Now Alex has 2 3/3s, or 2 zombies here, says go. Now Alex also has no lands past 3. But for his deck, that seems way more acceptable.
Yeah, that is fine.
All right, so can Ben hit that land yet? Now we see 2 Blazers.
It's very likely that Khan doesn't even have Liliana's Mastery in his deck post-sideboard. We've seen enough of these Monument lists featuring Dusk Dawn. That should be on his radar.
Declaration in Stone eyed here in Weinberg's hand. May have to pull the trigger on that one. But he has 2 Cloud Blazers, Fumigate. Those are at 5. They're a ways away. Until then, he's got Declaration in Stone, Essence Scatter,
Spell Queller.
Spell Queller.
He's trying to ambush something in combat, but you're really not going to profitably get in the way of the Colossus that's already a 3/3. And the Paramount's almost assuredly going to be a 3/3 as well.
So casts Crypt Breaker, but Alex still gets a zombie. I'm surprised Ben didn't just Declaration away that Diagraph Colossus right now.
Yeah, it's worth so much. If he peels runner land, the 5th mana source being untapped, and he can Fumigate, that's really good. It's unclear that he has enough time for that, though.
Here's a swing for 7 from Khan. And yeah, Ben just needs a Fumigate now, because now that Colossus is alive, it made so much power worth of zombie this turn. Spell Queller is going to chump block Mummy Paramount. Alex gets back his Crypt Breaker. Oh, and yeah, I think he gets, he gets another zombies. The way Ben sequenced that means that Alex gets zombies twice off the same 1 mana spell.
The Declaration will clean up these zombie tokens, but there's still a lot of power left over.
He's at 9 right now.
This is only 1 point shy of lethal. That means it's 1 zombie shy of lethal.
Yeah. Here's Declaration in Stone on the tokens. Says go. Alex just needs to produce 1 point of power. And it doesn't even matter about a counter spell. If he plays a creature and Ben counters, Alex still wins.
Yeah.
Because Colossus makes a zombie pumps the Paramount, and it's 9.
Essence Scatter never beat a cast trigger.
It's the second game where Essence Scatters looked kind of bad. Here's Lord of the Accursed from Alex. Ben's going to counter, but as long as Alex makes that zombie token, it's still lethal, and he does. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and dead. Alex Khan Black-White Zombies will get the game and the match as he improves to 5-0. Now just 1 win away from locking up his spot in day 2.
Yep, well played there by Khan. And I got to say, I really did not like the Essence Scatter.